And let's go ahead and see what we can go into. Let's go for 1995. That's part 2. Within some radiation group 3, which is really far about. Anyway, there it is. Whatever you're doing, whatever you might be doing, welcome to the channel.
There's cupboards or whatever, but they're kind of like sliding doors above the bed, and they're about 6 feet up in the air. And she's like, he wants us to open those. So my friend goes over to open it, and he can't make it budge. He cannot make this little door to this cupboard slide over. So he asked me to help him, and I get up there, and I'm not a little guy. I'm about 200 pounds and about 6 foot, right? And I was budging and just pulling and pushing, and we tried everything to get this open. There's 2 of us, and we couldn't do it. And, I'm starting to get a little, not really upset, but just aggravated.
Sure.
And she's, starting to cry again, saying, do it, do it, do it. And so the mother walks in, and she's like, calm down, calm down. Well, she said, and then the little girl said, no, he wants me to open it. So my friend picked her up, and she slid it open with not even a budge. It was just like she could use her fingers. And in there were a bunch of personal artifacts and pictures. And the first one that they pulled out was a letter that he had written to his little sister in case something had ever happened to her.
Oh my God!
And it was the scariest thing. I mean, yeah.
Well, I listen, thank you very much for the story. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. That though is typical. And there are 2 things I would take from that. One, again, the person who has died coming back to give a message that must be given. Something that must be released from that spirit before it is released. But the other aspect of that story that I find intriguing is that I believe that little children, have more of an ability to see, experience, or touch the other side than we do. Now, I wouldn't pretend to be able to tell you why, and there are adult sensitive certainly who have either maintained or nurtured that ability to see or reach or talk to the other side. But children in their innocence, I think, have something that the rest of us begin to lose as we get older. Because of the noise in society, the noise level, the signal to noise level, if you will. It was a deep thing that is either in all of us, or was once in all of us, or is still in all of us, that fades. But, in children, it is not yet faded. So children have a unique kind of sensory ability the rest of us do not have. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hi there.
Okay, where are you?
I'm in Canton, Michigan, which is just west of Detroit.
Excellent. WJR, I bet.
You betcha.
All right.
I just want to tell you about a really scary ghost story that involves my brother. This was back in 1983, October 7th.
Yes, sir.
And
you remember the date that well, huh?
Well, I sure do, because I was on the road. I was playing with a band in Saginaw, Michigan.
Oh, yes.
Playing at the Ford Dean Hotel. And I finished the job about 2:30 in the morning, and I went up and I had a couple of beers, and I laid down, and all of a sudden, I woke up and I was at the top of the stairs. We were staying on the 2nd floor of the hotel. And all of a sudden I felt an arm around me, and it was like, I heard, hey brother, go back to your room. You gotta go to sleep. Well, all of a sudden the next night, I got a call from my mother that my brother had committed suicide and he had died 2 days earlier on the 6th.
Oh boy. Any other visits, or was that it?
No, he visited me for about the next week and a half.
He did.
Yes.
And talked with you.
It was like I could feel a cold stare over me.
A presence.
Yes.
Not unusual. Again, really typical.
It was very strange.
People pass, and yet, for some reason, they don't quite pass. They're not quite ready. And I guess that was the case with your brother. Now, I'm curious. Were you comforted by that or frightened by it?
I was comforted very much.
Did it change you?
Yeah, I think it did.
I mean, does it tell you there is an afterlife?
Yes, it does.
I sure do appreciate your story and your call. Thank you. That is what it's all about. The search. Now, how are we to know there really is another side? Well, he knows. Other people who have experienced things like that, they know. And I may know something that I don't want to talk about. I'll let you do the talking. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Well, how art thou, Grandmaster of all my counties?
Well, thou art fine if you would turn your radio off.
Okay, I should have started about that.
Sorry. Where are you?
I'm calling from Fresno, California. I'm on KMJ 580.
That's the one.
You got it. I like, one thing, I really enjoy the show and I enjoy doing it immensely.
Thank you. It is a different kind of program.
No, it certainly is. I think I have members every Sunday night. Anyway, if I'm going to relate story to your audience, it's not necessarily a ghost story, but I always tell a spooky, I always think of it sometimes you tell me to tell people. But one Saturday morning, it was back in 1988. It was 2 weeks before I can go out of town. That's what I remember. I started to wake up on a Saturday morning. All of a sudden, this blue light shined, like a blue light shined inside of my head. Inside of your head? Yeah, it's like a TV. All of a sudden, a large, like a TV or an image flickers inside of my head. Okay. And then from here, I saw like these people, like in this large or a fairly good sized underground cavern or hallway or room. And it was just swaths of bathed in blue light. There was four of them. They were tall. They had like jeweled masks on and robes. And I had the feeling that the ones who were black were women. Their hair was like kind of longish and black. And then the men had gray robes. And their skin was like white, like Mickey Mouse. And I lasted for about 30 seconds. And then from time to time, I think of it as symbolic of something or what. But I'll tell you, I was sure startled, but I mean, subsequently, I've told people about it, and Mr. Zellman was a symbol there.
What would you call that? Vision?
I don't know, but for a moment, since then I haven't had something like this, but ironically, I've been thinking that before I went to sleep, how we could possibly communicate with our ancestors psychically. And I don't know.
Why do you think they were your ancestors?
Well, I mean, I got to thinking about that subject that collected out. I don't think they are, but I got the feeling they're from overseas. I don't know if that's
maybe, all right, thank you very much. Maybe what happened is you just sort of crossed psychic paths for a few moments with somebody who was doing some kind of experiment somewhere else, or somebody else who was dabbling in areas they perhaps should not have been. And you were simply the receptor for that tinkling. Now that's an absolute stab in the dark for somebody who is simply a talk show host and listened to your story. I don't have the slightest idea what it was. But if you'd had a couple, it certainly would sober you up, wouldn't it? We'll be back. There'll be more. This is Ghost to Ghost AM. With my hand in the air. I'm Marco. We're telling ghost stories tonight, maybe tomorrow. Very weird. Take this one for example. The physician suggested we turn down the lights if we dare. The lights in my room dim by half. As I write this, they're still dim. This is the night. Then this. My art great show. First off, in my 35 years, I have never encountered anything of a strange nature before. That is, until just recently. I'll let you decide if this is a ghost story or not. But I'm now convinced. I've been living at an apartment complex for about 2.5 years. I work nights, therefore I sleep in the day. I do too. After a few months after moving into my apartment, I'd be awakened from a sound sleep by the feeling that someone was in bed with me. It was as though someone was splashing wildly about the bed. But when I looked at the bed, it was as empty as was the bedroom. This happened every day during the month of September and stopped after September 21st. It was just a sleep disorder. Since it seemed to have disappeared, I soon forgot. Then, the following September, the same thing happened. And just as before, it stopped after the 21st. I went to my doctor. I discussed it with him and he gave me some pills. Anyway, last month, it began again and the pills did not work. As the 21st approached, the flashing feeling would be more intense and last longer into to the point where I could no longer get any sleep. So after 2 days of no sleep, I came home from work, and a neighbor who I've been having a passing acquaintance with noticed my haggard look. He asked me if I was sick. I told him that I wasn't getting much sleep lately. One thing led to another. And before I knew it, I told him of my strange tale, but I left out the thing about it only happening during the month of September. Now, this guy has lived at this complex for 15 years. And here's what he told me. Quote, I often wondered why no one stayed for very long in your unit. Now I think I know. Back in September of 1981, a young lady lived in your apartment. And later that month, was found dead on her bed. The autopsy showed that she had been strangled and put up one hell of a fight. End quote. Now I believe the thrashing about my bed is the spirit of this lady. Another thing that's strange is that it only happens during the day, not the night. Therefore, I feel she must have died during the day. What do you think? What should I do? Jim in Phoenix, Arizona. Buddy, I wouldn't begin to try to tell you what to do. I don't know. More Ghost to Ghost AM in just a moment. I call it that. Normally the name of the show, by the way, is Coast to Coast AM. But tonight, and maybe a bit of tomorrow night, Ghost to go west of the Rockies. You're on the air. Good morning. Where are you calling from?
Houston, Alaska.
Houston, Alaska.
Right.
All right. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. My name's Linda.
Hi, Linda.
And let me tell you something. I was born on Friday the 13th. And this story that I'm going to tell you happened to me 35 years ago when I was 13. In a place called Western Massachusetts.
All right.
And at 13, I went to a public school there. And at 13, I had a crush on a boy that went to Catholic school. And I talked a couple of my friends in on a Monday night to go to Union after catechism got out.
Oh, yes.
And we had a curfew time we had to be home. And we knew we were going to be late. My friend, which was typical next to the church, was old cemetery. And it had the wrought iron and stone wall. And as a child, I don't remember it ever being used, but it was an old cemetery. It was pretty shut down. And my friend talked me into going to the cemetery to church at home. So I was always a tomboy and wasn't afraid of anything. So we took off through the cemetery running. And halfway through the cemetery.
Well, if you weren't afraid, then why were you running?
Well, we had a deadline to get home.
Oh, I got you, all right.
Okay. We took off running from the cemetery. And halfway through the cemetery, I fell through the ground.
I beg your pardon?
I fell through the ground.
Through the ground.
Which I assumed was a grave.
Grave, yeah, right.
And the dirt came down around me.
Oh, boy.
And I was screaming. I had bugs that I assumed were termites. They had wings on them that I was covered with.
Oh, my God.
And at that time, I was 13 years old. I was only about 5'1". I didn't know how I was going to get out of here. I remember the pain. And I felt something around my feet, a pressure, nothing, that was grabbing on me, but some kind of pressure that lifted me up out of that dirt. And I was at a dead run, and I didn't stop until I got to the other side of the cemetery. And my friends were there, and I was covered with dirt, and I was covered with all these, which I assume probably were termites, bugs that were all over them. And I never, to this day, have been in the cemetery. I'm 48 years old, and I've never been back in the cemetery to this day.
I cannot say I blame you. That, to me, would be the end of me here, because I would have a heart attack. Right?
That was very scary.
Fortunately, your heart was young enough to take it, I guess.
Right.
Great story. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care from Alaska. Oh, man. Can you imagine running across a cemetery in the dark, falling into a grave with bugs falling all over you? I remember Poltergeist. I don't know, it's etched into my memory. I remember at the end when the graves began popping up and they fell into the pool. Do you remember that? And the skeletons and the sort of half fleshy, half non-fleshy things began popping up in the pool. I wouldn't make it through that. I wouldn't even begin to make it through that. I'd turn around in that mucky water and look at one of those flabbing flesh things, and I'd have my heart attack on the spot. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning. Hello, where are you?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, welcome.
Yes, I'm calling about a story that if my family finds out I'm telling you, I'm going to be in big trouble, but it occurred in Louisiana about 100 years ago, and it's still occurring to this day. It's a 100-year-old ghost story that occurred originally in Coshada, Louisiana. And I had an aunt and uncle that lived 100 years ago, several generations removed, and they were recently married. And my aunt died shortly after the marriage, and my uncle was completely devastated. And when he was going to bury his wife, she was in her 20s, they had been married for years. He had the coffin ordered from New Orleans. He wanted a special coffin, he wanted a glass coffin, and he wanted her buried in Metairie Cemetery in New Orleans. And he was told that it would take 6 months for the coffin to be ordered. And So in order, he waited for the coffin to come up to Shreveport, up to his area, and he would keep the corpse upstairs in his house, in the bedroom, and according to the servant at the house, he would kiss the corpse every night before he would go to bed. The servant said that, well, he would order them to take the corpse out every day and air the corpse out in the barrel. And for 6 months, and he had a Ouija board, as you were talking about earlier. Yeah. A Ouija board, the servant said he would talk to the corpse every night, and have conversations. And apparently this was a jealous ghost. And the servants were horrified. They would not clean this room. They said the candles wouldn't light when they went up there. If it was cold there, the candles would blow out. They could hear low-level whispers, and they said objects would fall from the room. And at night, they would, after a while, after a certain point, they would hear conversations between my uncle and some other voice, the corpse, I presume. And so, as I said, no one would go into this room for many years. Eventually, the glass got computerized and did bury her in Mary Cemetery in New Orleans. She's still there to this day in the crypt. And did that end it? No, because for up until the 1970s, all of my relatives who would go to visit the house would not visit that room. They still said that cold area was still there. They could still feel the presence. I remember going there as a child with my aunt. My aunt had shaky legs. She wouldn't even walk up the stairs. I could hear the squeaking wheels of the wheelbarrow at night. The wheelbarrow that was supposed to air out the corpse. I could still hear that in the 1960s and 70s. And there was a portrait that they couldn't photograph. Is this something that your family will not talk about? It's not something that they're proud of. But it is something that everyone knows about. And there is a certain member in the family who is a keeper of the key to the crypt, who does this. Would you go in there? Yeah, I guess I would. Just out of curiosity, because it's been something I've heard about all my life, and I'm curious about it. All right. Well, listen, I very much appreciate it, Paul, but there's no way that I would. There's no way. Absolutely no way. Now, you tell me, you explain to me, but that man is just like the women in the low-cut dresses who, the moment you hear the bump and the grind in the basement, immediately do what? They go down the stairs to the basement. The one place where you know they ought not go. Everybody knows evil things lurk in dark basements, but they go straight down there. And see, if that's all I key, where would he go? He'd go look and he'd go look his body. I know he would. I wouldn't. Would you? Listen, I want to tell you two things. One, if you would like a copy, and we have over 2 more hours of this program yet to do, this is one program that we make available to the audience. If you would like a copy of the program you are listening to right now, you can call 1-800-917-4278. Let me give you that number again, because I know a lot of you are going to want it. It's 1-800-917-4278, and it is good now, 24 hours a day. It is the Ghost to Ghost Halloween show. One other little item. We know we're going on in a whole bunch of new affiliate areas this morning. Love to hear from you by fax. We do have a 24-hour-a-day fax service, which sounds pretty fancy. It's really just a fax machine in my living room. The number is area code 702-727-8499. Let me give that to you again. I'd love to hear from somebody in New York, confirming we're on way back in New York, Rochester. Area code
727-8499. West of the Rockies, you are on the air.
Well, hello, Art.
Hello.
Scott from Graham, Washington.
Hello, Scott.
And this is something that happened over on the west side of Olympic Mountains.
Yes, sir.
And just up the Queens River. Anyway, we were, there was 4 of us, and we had 2 pickup trucks and 1 camper on 1 truck. And we went up to this beautiful spot with a river, and on the other side of the river is a cliff with these just huge boulders, probably 5 to 1,000-pound boulders. They're just huge, big rocks. And so we got up there, and it was dusk, and when it's dark up there, I mean, it is dark, and you can even see your hand in front of your face. And so we decided to sit them all in 1 camper and have a good old poker game. So we're all sitting around playing poker, and it was about 1:30 a.m. And we heard some splashes in the river, and we heard some grunts.
Grunts?
Yeah, kind of huge grunts. So we figured it was probably a bear out there having fun in the river, you know.
Grunt like grunts.
Yeah, and so after a while, the grunts seemed to get louder, and we heard like big rocks hitting each other. You know how you can hear the crack of rocks?
Of course.
And after a while, these rocks seemed to get closer and closer to our camper. And you could feel the rocks hit the ground outside to kind of a big thud. And I'm telling you, we all looked at each other and we said, nobody's going outside. I mean, we were armed to the teeth, so we were scared to death.
Oh, I wouldn't. You mean like those gigantic rocks, you know, coming out of the air and hitting the ground like that?
Yes. Like somebody was over there throwing these huge rocks. And then, you know, I wanted to call you last week about the Sasquatch sounds because you wouldn't believe this. I mean, the hair on the back of our necks was standing up. It's standing up now.
Was it like the sound I've got?
It was close, but not really. I mean,
you were closer to the first one that Linda House said, or the second one?
The second one.
That sound, that absolutely horrible. It was I don't know what I would call that. I would call that, it almost sounds human. To me, it sounded like a man in horrible, horrible agony. That's the only way I can think to put it. Is that about the way it sounded?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it, Art. It was just about like that, and it was echoing up and down the river, and it was terrible. We were terrified, and these rocks you could almost hear them whistling through the air, and they're crashing on the other side of our camper. They're hitting in the water. And the cracking of the rock, and this went on for 3 hours. And we were
what did you guys do? You just sit there and sort of shake at the table?
Or we're on the floor of the camper. We just couldn't move. We didn't know if one of these rocks were going to hit us.
Oh, now you see, that sounds realistic to me. That's where I'd be, floor of the camper. You betcha.
And we were armed to the teeth, let me tell you. And I was ready for anything. And we just went out for 3 hours, and it was about like 4:30 in the morning, and the sun started coming up. And we're all looking at each other going, thank God, you know, especially because I had to go to the bathroom. But anyway, and so we finally had enough nerve to go outside the door because the crashing and everything had stopped like about an hour before the sun came up.
Yeah, I would have waited too. For the crashing to stop and for the sun to come up. Okay, sounds good so far.
Okay, so we decided to go outside. And finally, we opened up the door and we all got out and we said, you guys get out here, you got to see this. And the other truck was just fine. But around our truck and the camper were these huge boulders in a circle around the camper.
What, I presume to this day you have no idea what it was.
No, but it had to be something
awfully big.
Because it took us pushing with one truck and pulling with another to get them far enough out of the way so we could get the truck and the camper out.
That's an incredible story. Do you swear that's true?
Oh, yes. And this happened in 1975 because it's when I got out of the service and all 4 of us got together because we used to go on camping trips when we were in high school. And to this day, when we get together, I mean, this, you know, this is something we always talk about.
I can imagine you would. Well, that one is almost a topper. What an absolutely incredible story. And so that's where it ended. You hauled the rocks away, and that was it.
Yeah, we pushed them out of the way, and we got out of there. And I have never been up there again.
I can't blame you.
I will not go.
Thank you very much for the story. Thank you. Take care. Something that big, those kinds of rocks. No, thank you. This is Ghost to Ghost AM. I'm Martel. Some will be right back. Curbside comments can be charged now at 702-727-1222. Now, here again, Heartfelt. Good morning. It's Halloween all across America. And we are doing what we do every hour. We're doing Ghost to Ghost. If you've got a good ghost story, we're here for it. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning. No, I think we just missed that person. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning. Yes. There we go, straight for you. All right. All ears. Where are you? I'm in Scottsdale, Washington. Okay. I was camping earlier this summer with a friend to the mountains. There's actually three of us. We went up another camping site. We had the last one. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, not that bizarre, actually. We're up in the mountains, probably 20 miles from the nearest town and 10 miles from the nearest person. Way out on the logging road up on a clear night. Someplace we used to go, just for the week or something where nobody be around. And sure. We're up there, and me and this girl were walking down the road, and my friend was sitting up on the campfire, and we come back 10, 15 minutes later, and he's in the car hiding. I don't know, I was probably got tired and was asleep. And he gets out of the car and goes, "Who is the guy that just came by?" And I went to him and said, "Get real, man. We're 10 miles from the nearest person. Who the heck did come up here?" Right. He said, "Some guy in a black robe comes by, looks at him and says, 'This isn't right.' And just walks off." Meaning, he thought, "Well, this isn't right that you are here." That's what you all can understand, because he'd never been there before. And the road that I was on, they clear cut it in another direction, so the road was almost grown over, and I remembered where it was. You know, it was one of the roads that the trees had now come up in the middle of. Right. And he had no idea what the heck he was talking about. And he just kept going on. Somebody came by and said, "This isn't right." And he just kept going on and on. But finally, we just left because he was just going ecstatic about it. That's weird, all right. That's very weird. And so you just never found out anything more about this? He still, every time I talk to the guy, he still goes on about this. He still thinks I had somebody up there with us. But where we were, it was impossible for anybody to have found it. It was one of those places, if you were to get hurt or something, nobody would find you. Well, I guess that's one of those things you're going to have to wonder about your whole life, huh? Apparently. I have another quick one, if you don't mind. Very quickly, yes. I worked in a plant up in a little city up north of here called Lake Stephen. Actually, it's on the other side of the mountains from us. Right. And I was in working one night. It was actually the press log plant. It was very noisy, so you wore earplugs. And all of a sudden, I heard somebody call my voice. There was only two of us that worked in the plant, so I figured it was the other guy. And he was out on the forklift outside. So I went outside, and as I'm going out, he's coming in and said, "What did you want?" There was nobody around. He said the plant had been doing that ever since they had built the plant. It's done that.
one person will hear somebody call the name, and the other person will come in as the other person's going to look for the other one, but nobody could figure it out.
Well, it's in line. Thank you very much for the story. It's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about. Art, my father died of cancer in the summer of 1992. Now, I'm in the Navy. Was stationed in Maryland at the time. I knew he was ill. But the cancer spread to his spine unexpectedly and caused him to become incapacitated literally overnight. My wife and I had to travel to the hospital in Florida. He was so incoherent by then that I never got a chance to speak to him one last time. He died a few days after our arrival, moments before we got to the hospital on that particular day. After paying my respects and comforting my mom, my wife and I left the hospital. We entered an elevator that was going down to the lower parking area. Suddenly, the elevator began going up and stopped on the next floor. The door opened, but there was no one inside. Also, there were no stairs that anyone could have exited by. The doors began to close and then opened abruptly as if someone were blocking the entrance. This happened several times until my wife finally said, "Okay, Preston, knock it off." The doors closed, the elevator took us to our desired floor. I feel this was simply an attempt by my father to let me know that he was there, that he was okay. I thought you'd enjoy the story. Thanks. James in Honolulu, Hawaii. There you are. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
How you doing?
Okay. Where are you?
I'm in Israel, Missouri, listening to KPIM.
Oh, that's right. You're on a portable phone too, aren't you?
Portable phone,
Yeah. You have a regular one?
No, I don't.
You don't. All right. Well, we'll put up with it. Go ahead.
Well, I got a story that's going to scare you, and to scare me. I don't really think about it, but I used to be in the Air Force, and I was stationed at FB1 Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Right.
And it's a really haunted base. If anybody knows about that base, they know what I'm talking about.
Haunted in what way?
Well, it used to be an old cavalry base. There's been a lot of murders, a lot of cavalry murders, again, murders, suicide, stuff like that in the dormitories. It's a really haunted base. I mean, there's ghosts of dogs in the dorm that I used to live in.
Really?
Yeah, it was really scary. But I was going through some really rough times, and I just moved back into the dormitory, and I would every once in a while see this like dark cloud, like kind of like a gas cloud above my bed or down the hall. And then whenever I would look at it directly, it wouldn't be there. And then I'd be getting dressed and take generators and look in there and everything. And I was sort of down and see this face, his hands peeking around the corner. And I looked, must not be there. And the face was all black. It had blue, kind of bluish eyes. I mean, dark blue, like a navy blue. And I mean, it was really scary. And then one night, I was missing home really bad. And I thought, well, my mom.
All right, sir, your phone is breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Quit moving around.
All right, my mother is into the new age stuff.
Yeah.
She was telling me about a lot of the stuff she could do, and I tried it. I tried to go back home. She called it astral projection. And I tried that. I didn't know how to do it, but I was laying down on my bed and I was concentrating as hard as I could on home, and I felt myself sit up. But when I looked, I was laying, I could feel my body laying down, and I could see right through my legs. I could see everything.
Ooh, that's weird.
Yeah, and then a friend of mine, I saw a friend of mine come through the door and say, "Hey, Spence, get up, are you coming with us?" At that moment, it felt like I was sucked down into my body. And it scared me so bad I never tried it again.
I don't blame you. Thank you very much for the call. It was a terrible phone, but a good story. And I also believe that projection from the body, astral projection, is possible. That if we, kind of like in some of the movies that I've seen, somewhere in time, particularly. Our mind is capable of many, many things, including possibly time travel and out-of-body. I'm not an expert, I simply listen to the stories. On our first-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello there?
Hello.
Yes,
Oh, my name is Samantha.
Samantha, that's a good Halloween name.
Yeah, I know.
Where are you?
I'm in Las Vegas.
Oh, wonderful. KDEG,
KDEG.
Big 840.
I love it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, I just thought I would tell you a few flower stories about my mother. She, one time I was talking to her. She died in 1982.
Sorry.
And she was talking to me about 1976, and I'm on the phone. And she said, all of a sudden she started smelling flowers. You know, she was very strong, like stock or carnation. She said, that's the flower my sister Edith liked.
Yeah.
And about an hour later, she got a call that Edith died. Then, when my mother died, I, of course, got the flowers, and I've been getting them every year or so. It's like a bubble around your head. And if you walk away from it, you don't smell it. You walk back to where you were, you smell it.
So you can play, and you have to walk into it, literally.
Yes, or I'll be sitting on the couch, reading or something, and all of a sudden it'll come around my head. And it's like a bubble. And it sweet me with my mother because that was her flower. And if I walk away from it, it's gone. I go back, and it's there, and it lasts about 5 minutes. This has happened to two of my sons.
Energy.
Usually in doorways. And you know, there's no flowers in the house with the everything. And you walk out of the doorway.